again, want to thank you for being here. Again, sorry, we're a couple minutes late. Hope you weren't worried. Thanks for hanging around. My name's Chris Bentley. I'm the Managing Director of WSN. I'm so grateful that you've joined us here tonight. Before we begin, just a couple of notes. We are recording this. If you prefer to keep your cameras off, that's fine. I know that when we get in discussions, it's always nice to be able to see a face. Please stay muted until we have that Q&A. And we can do that at any time. We don't have to wait for the end. Feel free, if you have a question, use the chat feature if you would, and just drop that in there. And then I'm checking that while Christine's chatting, and you can focus on her, and then we'll get to your question as soon as possible. Does that make sense? And then, we'll try to get them all answered tonight. It's always fun when you've got questions. I know Christine really appreciates taking the questions live and giving you what you need, right now, right when you need it. So that's what tonight's all about. Again, if you're just joining us for the first time, we're going to be hearing from Christine Baumgartner tonight. She is she's a dating and relationship expert who's been studying relationships for over 30 years, which is hard to believe, Christine. And she's been coaching singles for 15 years. She'll tell you a little bit about herself, but she's also the author of The Perfect Catch. And I guess the rest of that title is Learn How to Be One and How to Attract One, right? You can't attract one if you're not one. And that's what this is all about. That's the secret to success. From what I've heard from Christine over the last 5 months of being with us, I've learned a lot about relationships in general. And of course, I'm not dating right now, but certainly great information. And you're gonna get to hear that tonight. So without further ado, I am going to pass the microphone to Christine.
Hi, fellas. It's so nice to see you all. I am really, one of my weaknesses is that I am not very good at remembering faces or names. It really takes me a few times to have them lock in, but I am such an auditory person that somebody I haven't talked to in a year, I could tell you I know their voice. So my question is, if who's been here before, and there's a place down where the little heart is where it says reactions, you can put up a hand since you're not having your faces on the screen. I'm just curious if you need me to start from the beginning about how I became a coach, and if that's interesting to you, if you want me to just start teaching you things about, I'm also a widow. I'm not sure that you would all know that yet, but I am. I'm a member of this club that nobody ever wants to join because the entry fee is way too big. First time. Where am I from? I live in Southern California in a city called Fullerton. Not everybody knows that, but I live next door to Anaheim where Disneyland is, and most people have a sense of where that is. I've lived in Southern California my whole entire life, except for 1 year I lived in Northern California. I've visited a lot of other states in the United States, and I visited a lot of other countries, and every time, thank you. It's nice to meet all of you too. Every time I always want to come home. I love visiting. I love meeting new people and learning new cultures, and I love trying new food. And I'm always really grateful to come home because I am very spoiled that we can go to the beach and the mountain and the desert in a couple of hours. And I'm a big wuss about the cold, so I like living where below 70, I start putting layers on. So for first-time people, I was my first client. I got married the first time when I was 18, when you think you know everything, and it turns out when I got divorced at 32, I really figured out how little I really did know. So then I dated, and I tell people I did puberty in my 30s and 40s. Thank you. It was a really good time to do puberty. I felt like I was being a little more mature than I might have been when I was younger. And I had the most amazing men be teachers about how amazing men are and how much you like us ladies and how much you admire us and how important it is to you to please us and have us be pleased with you. And so it was lovely I was raised by a mother who didn't like my father very much, and she didn't really like men much. And so I did have that as part of me, certainly in my first marriage, but we were too young, and we've gone back to being friends, and we didn't have children. So there wasn't a real drive for us to stay together, even to talk, but there was no upset or rancor. So then I was single for over 20 years and dated a lot and learned a lot and ran a party planning company for 25 years. And then when I turned 50, I said, I think I'm ready to get married. I think I've learned enough about dating and what it is I need and want. And online dating had been out for a couple of years, and I had a girlfriend who was going to start using it. And I said, well, it sounds like fun. Let's go do that. And it was funny because men were just so fearless and they would just jump on the dating sites fearlessly, and women were like creeping on. And my girlfriend and I just got right on. So they were charging men to join, and they were asking women to just come and be free because there weren't enough women for the men. And then I had even more men to date. And what I discovered is my single friends would say, well, what do you think of the men you're dating? And I truly only seemed to be careful and have good instincts that I only dated nice men. They were nice to me. They treated me nicely. I went fun places with them. And they'd say, well, what do you think about a future? And I said, well, I wouldn't marry any of them. And I didn't care because I didn't want to get married during any of that time before I turned 50. But then when I turned 50 and I decided I wanted to get married, and now I had even more men to go out with, I had to really think about why all these men that were continuing to show up, I wouldn't marry. And I'd been asked a couple times, and I had said no. So when I really thought about it, because this is where you go, oh my God, what kind of person believes this? But I kept dating men that I live in a big metropolitan area, and I planned parties with people that had all this discretionary income. That I dated men, just happened that they had really big fun jobs and they made tons of money, but they had no money, no savings, no retirement. And I'd say, I save up because I took myself on vacation by myself a lot too. And I say, well, how do you save up for your vacations? And they say, those credit card forms that come in the mail, I just fill it out and max it out. And they were perfectly comfortable with that. And I was like, ooh, that's why I wouldn't marry that person, because I'm very careful with my finances and they weren't. And it wasn't my money, so I was okay about that. But if I ever got married to them, then we would join our money. So I thought, well, isn't that so weird? Why do I keep being around, attracting and being attracted to men that have this trait when there's so many other things to pick from? So I went to therapy and I discovered that my dad and my ex-husband were these wild entrepreneurs where they would make all this money and then poof, it would be gone. So way back in my subconscious, that's who men were to me. And I knew how to live with that. I'd done that twice till I was 32. And I knew how to deal with that. And I didn't think there was anything really terrible about it. It just made me feel uneasy. And I thought maybe that's all I deserved. So then I learned that wasn't what I deserved, because that wasn't how I was now running my life as an adult. And I put myself through a process. And the very next man, when I asked that vacation question, he said, well, of course I save up for my vacation. I went, is it because I changed the way I was believing? It turned out that was exactly what it was. So the next thing I thought, well, what's another reason that that's a trend that I'm having of traits of men. And so when I put that same thing through the process, the next man didn't have either of those traits. So then 4 years later, after doing all this work on myself and really being diligent about this and learning how to date differently, it's what I call my dating program, I met my late husband. And I met him in October of 2005, and in March of 2006, he invited me to go on a cruise with he and his daughter, his teenage daughter, and her girlfriend. And on the cruise, he said, I have two presents for you. And I'm like, oh, I love presents. And one of them was diamond stud earrings, and the other was his credit report. And I was like, I would have never asked somebody for a credit report. So I said, well, thanks, but why are you giving me this very personal information after such 4 months of dating, or 5 or whatever long it was? And he said, well, I had kept changing my profile as I got more clear about who I was and what I needed and wanted in a relationship. I kept updating. He said, I read clearly in your profile that you are very financially sound and that you're looking for somebody who also is. So I want you to see I am, because I'm falling in love with you. And I thought, how cool to get such three-dimensional confirmation that doing this work, because it was work, look how it paid off. So sadly, after 5 years of marriage, he participated in a clinical trial and they killed him. And I spent the first 2 years grieving, doing a medical malpractice suit. And my husband said I was the most tenacious person he'd ever met. So we won. we settled out of court, my stepkids and I, and it was a horrible, awful, terrible experience. But I'm the kind of person that there has to be two sides. You have to see two sides of the hand or two sides of the coin. And I kept thinking there's never going to be anything good from this. I waited a long time to find him, and now poof, he's gone again. But what came about was I started joining some widow groups, and I was able to help widowed people with their dating lives because I'd only worked with divorced people before that because I'd been divorced. I knew that world. And what I learned about widowed people was because my marriage was short, sadly, but I'm glad I had them for the amount of time I did. But most of the widowed people that I coach were married for 20, 30, 40 plus years. So you haven't dated for a very long time. You dated often when you were teenagers or in your 20s, and the world is so different now. And you are different now. You're chronologically older. Think of all the experiences you've had during that time that you're now got all these experiences inside of you. And now you've lost the love of your life. It changes you. So, of course, you wouldn't date the same way before. And it's 2026. So, my joy was that I could now help people that were out in the middle of this river with no rudder, knowing no map, no direction. They know where they want to be, but they don't know how to get there. That I could now help widowed people because I have such a soft place in my heart for us widowed people. So, but widow people started calling me, and I was like, I've never been a guy, certainly not a guy that lost a spouse. So I looked up and found this website, and I signed up and said, can I do this even though I'm a woman? And Herb Knoll called me, and he was so sweet because I guess he calls everybody and says, I know how you doing, but now I'm a girl. And he said, oh, I love what you're doing. And what else are you doing? And at that point, I did a newsletter. So he let me put my newsletter on the site. And now for 5 years, I've done a podcast every week with a co-host that's a guy who's not a widow person. And your wonderful website lets me put it up there. And then you started inviting me to come in real time answer your questions because often the questions I get through the website are from women that want to date you that aren't widowed, and they ask all these uninformed, uneducated, but nice questions about why does he still have pictures up and he still has her in his heart and can he really love two people? And I explain, yeah, to all those. It's normal to have pictures. It's normal to have soft days on their birthday and your wedding anniversary and their angelversary. So I talk them off the cliff. If they really want to date a widower, they need to be okay with all of that. And then the thing that I got to learn about all of you was how do I help you move forward? Because you're never going to move on from loving your spouse. You loved your spouse. There's a few people that weren't as happy at the end, or they were already separated. And it's certainly another conversation that I have. But the majority of widowed men that I talk to, they'd much rather than be sitting right next to them. Their preference would be to have them not be gone. So you're never going to not love them. You're always going to have them in your heart. And so, how do you get to where you don't feel guilty? That's one of the hard things that widowed people in general, and you men who are so honorable, could I really fall in love with somebody else and not feel like I'm letting my spouse go? So, one of the recommendations I give for the people that are here the first time, because I have said this before, but I'm happy to say it again. In the United States, we're very particular about if we break something precious like china or porcelain, we will spend a lot of money to have it look perfect again. We don't want to see the crack. But in Japan, when something precious breaks, like porcelain, they melt 24 karat gold. You can watch the process on the internet. And they take the opening and they put 24 karat gold, melted glove gold, and then they put the piece back in, but then it's always marked. There's always an honor that that piece broke and it's put back together and it's even stronger. So what I suggest that you do is your broken heart, your heart got broken when your spouse died. It breaks. Mine was sudden, but some people's were long illnesses, and you have hopefully some conversations and you had a chance to say goodbye. But I will tell you, I have not met anybody that was ever prepared for gone, no matter what happens before. They're gone now, and your heart is broken. No matter how much it was broken watching them deteriorate and how much you cared for them, they're still gone, and it's the final break. So you put the gold there on a part of your heart, and you put the piece back on, and you seal your love, your precious memories, your thoughts, your fun laughs, the challenges that you overcome. Put those in there and seal it shut. So nobody can ever touch it. It'll never get less. It'll always be just as much as it's always been. But what it does then is it frees up the rest of your big, beautiful heart to fall in love with somebody when you meet somebody that's really worth it, really worthy of your love. It's one of the ways I help you move past the guilt because you you promised forever and ever, and even though you said those words of till death you part, nobody really thinks that. Nobody thinks I'm going to stop loving them, and you aren't. That's not what anybody's asking you to do. What they're asking, what we would like to suggest if you really want to be with somebody again, is to now make the rest of your heart available, that it doesn't take anything away from your spouse. And the thing that I've learned so charming about you, lovely men, is you really like being with us. There was that Jack Nicholson line that said, You make me want to be a better man. And you all tell me that. You want to be your best man already. And you want us to admire you for that. And you want us to trust you for that. And you want us to know that you are doing your best, even when we're not sure why you're doing what you're doing. But you really like having us, especially when you were younger. The first thing you had was procreate. You want a family to take care of because you want to protect and provide. The manufacturer installation person put this in you with that Y chromosome. See, we got the two X's and you get that Y. This is who you are. And you miss having the person to provide for and protect because you got to do it for a really long time. And you have a desire most of the time to want to do that again. And then you're like, but I want to be good at this and I don't feel good at this. And why do I want to try this thing? Because I'm just going to, I've had a couple people who, when they first start talking to me, they go, I have to tell you, not only did I put one foot in my mouth, but I had to sit down because I put both my feet in my mouth because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm going to give you all a pass, like a hall pass. Nobody just knows how to date. The reason it was so easy before is you were surrounded by your target market in the neighborhood, at school, at work, at college, at clubs. Everybody, the majority of everybody, was in your age group, probably looking for a spouse, probably thinking about starting a family, moving along in a job or some sort of a career or school. So the pickings were multiple. I mean, so many. I mean, you still just wanted one person, but you had a lot of people around. Not so much now. We're all sitting home streaming movies and ordering food on Uber Eats, and you're not out and about as much. And first, you don't know where to go and you don't know what to say or how to do it. So that's my job. My job is to find out where you are in the process. Because when people start working with me, we need to find out, are you in a relationship? Because I've certainly talked to widowed people that are, and they just want to make it better. Or they really are ready. They'd like to get online or they'd like to start going to places and they just aren't sure what to do when they get there. How do you talk to women? Because I want to be respectful. Or they haven't even done any of it. So they need to get ready to get ready. And that's a very normal place for widowed people to be. I just want to think about it. I want to talk about it. I want to see what I need to get to do to be prepared so that I won't look stupid when I get out there. What sorts of things do I need to do so that I'll feel more confident about this? And it's interesting that Chris mentioned that he's married because what I tell everybody is the things that I teach to help you move comfortably into a dating process. Are you ready to date or are you ready to get ready? Yes. Thank you. And oh, boy, the thought just went out of my head. And that does happen to me sometimes. What was I saying? Do you remember what I was saying?
No, because I was typing.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. About, oh, a foundation. So that what you're going to learn now through the dating process that you're going to start meeting women and talking to women and learning how to talk to women in 2026 and be a man in 2026, and then find somebody you like. Oh, I'd like to concentrate on them. I want to spend more time with them. So the skills that you're going to learn that help that be you feel successful, whatever success is for you. I listen to what your definition is of that. It's a wonderful skill to keep while you're going into a monogamous, committed, long-term relationship, whether or not you get married. Just starting to think about. Very good place to be. Just thinking about it, cruising around the lake, haven't even put your toe in yet. It's my favorite place to start with people because you don't come to me all, oh my God, I tried and it was really hard and there were only these kind of people. And I can help that when that has happened, but it's so much easier if I get you in the beginning before you've had the hard experiences that people have when they don't know what they're doing. But nothing is ever lost. Because another big challenge that widowed people have when they've been married a long time is you had a second language. You could like look at each other across the room and you knew what the other person was thinking. I mean, you really get there, hopefully again, but you can't do that right away with another person. So you guys like thinking, I know this is what they're going to need and I can give that to them. But it doesn't work very well in new women. We like being asked, even if you're right. Isn't it nice to find out you're right? But it's really important to find out if it isn't what we want. We would like something different. So learning how to ask the question to just find out for sure is really important. And I call myself out about this all the time because after studying this for such a long time, male and female relationships, I pride myself on being a good guesser. But I'll tell you, in my personal life, when I think I know what somebody's going to say, I have so learned about 20 years ago to ask because I will tell you 80% of the time when it's a guy, you say something completely different than what I thought you were going to say. And I will also tell you, I like it better than what I thought. So it's a good thing I didn't think it and make it a fact. It's a good thing I asked first. But I need to keep teaching women to cut that out because that's what we do. We think we know what you're thinking and you think we know what we're thinking and nobody talks about it. And then this goes off in a different direction. And it's funny if I could see your faces, maybe there might be some people nodding because maybe it might have happened once or twice in your marriage, or at least you read about it in a book and saw it in a movie. And I would like to help you do that more smoothly the next time because we're really different. One of the things that the new people don't know about me is my very first 2 years of coaching. I had an invitation to go work and be a coach for John Gray, the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus author. And I flew to Northern California and made videos with him. And I really started liking you guys even more, that I started understanding the basic differences we have, that we have different dictionaries inside of us, that different words mean different things to us, that we have different priorities, we have different skills, we have different strengths. And if women would stop thinking that men are just women with more hair and muscles on their body and that you're misbehaving and just doing stuff wrong on purpose, and that you think that we're men with less muscles and hair on our body, and we're very confused and scattered, and a man would never act like that. That when I show you neither of those things are the truth, well, they're the truth, but they're not the bad truth. That when you learn this is the good reason we do the things that are so different, that they were instilled in us by the manufacturer installation person, then you go, oh, so the men stop being confused and the women stop being mad. Because generally you don't get mad, but you are confused a lot, even though you like us. I think God has a great sense of humor, that he made us in such a way that you just can't hardly live without us. You see how amazing we are and how amazing your life is with us, but there's times you're like, I just don't get it at all. I'm so confused. I'm so confused that she can't be on time. I'm so confused she keeps changing her mind. I'm so confused that she gets mad at me when I'm really doing the right thing. I'm so confused she gets mad at me when she hasn't told me to do or not do something. Like, how was I supposed to know I'm not a mind reader? But we think you really are. It's really sad, but we do. We really think you're a mind reader, but I have to teach women you're not. So, and you think we know the stuff that's just so obvious to you, but we want you to tell us, but you don't know that. And so much of the miscommunication so much of the misunderstandings are miscommunication. That's all. So often the things that people come and talk to me as couples, it just sorts out to that was just a miscommunication. That's what the misunderstanding was. Oh, because you guys are very good about trying really hard to get along and trying really hard to figure out what in the heck pissed us off so you don't do it again, but we aren't going to tell you. I was a good storm cloud my first marriage because I just knew he knew and was doing it on purpose, and he really didn't know, and he wasn't doing it on purpose because you don't want to piss us off. You really don't. You really would much rather us be happy around you because a peaceful home is very lovely for you. But if we don't tell you about the things that we would like and don't like ahead of time, or at least nicely after, how would you stay out of hot water and those landmines? And the more you stop being your most authentic self, and the more the women stops being their authentic self, the marriage often, we turn into roommates, and there's not that wonderful closeness and that juiciness where how there's going to be conflicts, there's going to be misunderstandings, but learning how to deal with it from the beginning when you're first getting acquainted with somebody and you lay some really good foundation, which is the skills I teach right from the beginning that you can then use as you're going through a relationship and stuff comes up. You're like, oh, I have that tool, or oh, let's call her and just get a checkup with this. I have people that just call once or twice a year just to get a checkup, like when you go to the doctor. So what I love teaching is this very foundational information that then makes the relationship later even better, because what we bring to a relationship now is you can imagine it's completely different than what we brought to a relationship in our 20s and 30s. So how do you maneuver this? How do you navigate it? How do you have the tools? So I tell people I'm like when you walk into Home Depot and there's that huge wall of screwdrivers and you think, well, you guys wouldn't, but girls, who in the heck needs all those screwdrivers? But there's somebody that needs that screwdriver. So that's what I learned is what tools do you have in your toolbox already that are working for you? What ones you have this, but you didn't even know you could do this even better? And then what new additional tools could I put in your toolbox that will help you date even better? And the other thing that happened, it took me really about 10 years to really listen to the people that were telling me this, because they kept telling me it before, that I coach dating. I do. And I coach relationships, romantic ones. But they started saying, I'm having better relationships with my children, with my neighbors, with my colleagues, with my other relatives, because it's all useful, especially with the opposite sex. This is what I teach: how to hear us better, how to communicate with us better, how to maneuver around those weird things that we come up with when we're having our hormonal ups and downs. One of the things that men often don't know, and it's helpful to have this visual, is if you think about a woman, because you would know this if you've raised girls, especially because you watch them go through this, and your wives as well. We have a stack of emotional pancakes in our body from about our neck to our belly button. And we have feelings about everything all the time, all the time. Right now, I could tell you how I feel about sitting on the couch, what temperature the room is, if I've had a good day, if I'm hungry, what I think about how I look on the picture, what I think about all you guys. I'm having so many feelings about everything all the time. That's the two X's. So I have all these pancakes inside of me that are buzzing and reacting and carrying on. And for you to be aware of that, and what in the heck are you going to do with all that that's going on all the time? because sometimes your instinct is to leave because we're having so many emotions. And I love teaching men that's really, unless we ask you to leave, it's never what we want you to do. But you go, what can I do? But I want to make her feel better and I want to make her proud of me. So, could you give me a show of hands if you would like to know a superpower that I love teaching good men of how to have us stop getting mad at you when you want to help us feel better? Because I won't teach it if it's not of interest. Oh, you like it a lot. Okay. It really is a superpower, and I only teach good men. So I'm going to start with you first. When you are having a bad day or you're trying to fix something and it's not working, and you just have to stop for a minute because you're so frustrated. You have all this frustration, tension in your whole body. You know how that feels. Generally, most men that have taught me that you need to walk away and go do something else. You go for a run or a bike ride, or you go watch a sporting event, or you go read the newspaper. You have to take that frustration and put it in a compartment in your head, and you have to go concentrate on something else. And the tension, you know, the thing, whatever the thing is, or the things, the tension will then just go out your toes eventually. It just, your body is going to feel better. You know how to re-regulate. You know how to recalibrate to get yourself feeling back to your best self. And then maybe you'll go back and the thing works better now, or at least you're in a better place to do it. So I'm hoping you're all relating to this because I've sure had enough men tell me this is how you do it. When women, we got our stack of pancakes going on and we've got a bunch of feelings about something that's got us feeling that same way. You know, the feeling where you're just full of mad or sad or upset. We're so full, just like you. And you go, oh, I'll leave her alone. She'll feel better. No. The other thing that happens is, I'm going to interrupt myself for a second. When you guys talk, you talk for three reasons. You talk to share information. Did you see that on the news? Did you see the sports scores? Did you see what else the political people are doing? You like sharing information with us. The second reason you talk is you were working on something and it worked. You finished a project. You got a proposal done. You succeeded at something and you want to tell us and you want us to go, great job. And the third reason you talk is when you really have a problem and you've put it in the back of your head and you've been puzzling it out and you're not sure. You just haven't come up with the solution of how to solve something. So you're going to go find an expert, how to fix a car or how to do something on an electronic something. You're going to go find the expert and you're going to explain to them exactly what the problem is. And your expectation is when they open their mouth, they're going to give you the solution. The first words out of their mouth is a solution. So now here we are back to the woman who's all upset and there's all these pancakes and they're rattling away and there's all blah, 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 blah. And because you want her to stop feeling bad and you'd like to be her reason for having the solution, you think, oh, I'm looking for the point of this conversation. So she's come home and said, you know, there was this horrible traffic jam and I had to pee. And I got home and I was really hungry and it was awful. And you went, oh, how about waves? Have you used waves? So you could get around the traffic and know there was construction. And she goes, oh my God, you weren't listening. You don't understand. You don't care about my feelings. And you're like, really? I listened really carefully and I thought that was so, okay, talk more. Traffic, pee, lunch, sad, hurt. Oh, how about Google Maps? Because you really want to help us feel better. You want to give us the solution. And then she gets madder and both of you get frustrated and walk away. So here we are with that big old full, her body is full of this frustration and full of all this, and there's no room, even if it's the best solution in the whole world, because you're really smart and you really care and you're going to give us, there's no room, not even an eyedropper. We pretend this is completely full. I already drank it, but we're going to pretend it's full. So what the secret is to do for us when we're doing the blah, 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 is you turn off your brain for looking for the point, because there's never a point. Never. There's never a point for a solution. The point is for us to get it out. So what I want you to picture as a guy, and you can practice this if you've got daughters, because they really will be floored when you do this, as if you're holding a great big trash can in your arms, so that when they're blah blahing, it's not going on you, it's going in the trash can. And we just blah, 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 the horrible and the awful and the terrible and the horrible and the awful. And you just keep looking at us really sympathetic. And I'm telling you, you don't have to know any of the details. You don't have to pay attention to the details. You don't have to remember the details. Men like knowing this, that you're off the hook. Now, if you feel so inclined that you want to say something when we go, oh my gosh, it was so hard, you go, yeah, hard. Yeah, that was hard. They go, oh. So then what happens in our body? We go, oh, he's listening. He really does care about my feelings. See, before when you were interrupting, we were clear that you don't care about our feelings. When you just listen and are empath, oh, you really do care about our feelings. And then blah, 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 more dumping, dumping, dumping in the trash can, dumping, dumping. The highest level that I would teach you if you were really wanted to do that is you say 3 magic words of tell me more. Because it doesn't make us talk any longer than we already would have talked. We talk longer when you interrupt. But if you just say, we go, oh my God, look how much he cares. He really does care. And we start relaxing and it's dumping and the pressure, that pressure that you know that goes out of your toes, the pressure is coming out of our mouth because the way that we deal with our feelings is to just keep talking about it until they're gone. And they really will be gone. It's amazing how you really have had us talk too long because you've interrupted us. Generally, if you don't interrupt us, we'll take much less time than you think. So then what happens? We really do get empty. Now, this is not if we're complaining about you. There's a little bit different technique, but generally we're not complaining about you until you interrupt us. So you wait till we're done. Because then you watch, our body relaxes, we take a deep breath, we might actually smile, which you really like, and then we feel better because of you. You were the impetus. So in your mind, you have this big trash can full of, I tell people, think of it as throw up, think of it as garbage. Visually in your head, you've taken it and you've put it in a big dumpster way out in the parking lot. So it's all gone. And there the two of you are sitting there and her pancakes are all vibrating happy now. She's got happy because they're still vibrating, but happy. And the one thing she might do for sure is say, what do you think I should do about that next time? And then you get to offer a solution. Often we're ready. We've got this big empty vessel ready for your solution. Now, you don't all know me well enough to know that Christine likes talking about sex. She's very comfortable talking about it, happy to talk about men and women about it. So the part of this conversation is, and I've proven it, when I teach a new male client about this, and he's already in a sexual relationship with the woman that he's going to now do this technique with, that will go, I think you're going to get lucky later. Because you've seen that when we get emotionally upset with you, we back up physically every time. I've known 2 women that don't, but hundreds of women that do. We back up. We back up emotionally and we back up physically, and you're not getting any later. You're going to be sleeping on the couch if you did the interrupting thing. But when you've helped us physically and emotionally feel better doing this way, we are drawn to be closer to you. We want to be closer to you because we already hopefully like you already. So we come in where we're like, oh, we're back feeling safe with you. You protected my feelings. You were honoring of our feelings. And the funniest thing that will happen when I teach this the first time, the next week when I call the male client, he'll say, it worked. Like it's this big secret. I go, I know I'm a girl. This is the best thing about having me as a coach when you're a man, because I know the inside scoop. I know what we like. I mean, you need to teach me if you have somebody in your life, the kind of things that they do, and I can fine tune it. But I have to tell you, this just works across the board. If a woman is in her feminine, it doesn't work as well if the woman's in her masculine. You know, if you're in a job where the woman has to be more masculine, then you talk to her much more like you do, much more, here's the fix, because they're looking for the fix. But a woman in her feminine, they need you to just listen until the pressure goes down. Because it's as if you were going to go pretend you go run to get rid of your and we said, no, no, no. You have to stay here and talk about your feelings and you'll feel better. And you're like, hell no, that's not going to work. So that's how it feels for us when you keep interrupting us getting our feelings out. We're like, hell no, that's not going to work. So here's both people feeling very frustrated, both people really wanting to get re-regulated, but you can see how the means of getting us back to our best selves is completely different and counterintuitive. We think you should talk to get your feelings out. You think we should want a solution. And it doesn't work that way the majority of the time. But if I explain this in this way, everybody goes, oh, well, okay, if that's really the truth, I'll try it. And then they come back going, oh my God, it works. So I hope that that's helpful. Try practice any female person in your life, sister, daughter, female neighbor, coworker. I'm telling you, we'll just you just hook us right away. We'll think you're like the best listener in the whole. And I'm happy to have questions about if I didn't explain it thoroughly or you think, really, could you go over that part again? Because it's a very weird concept for men because it's not your natural way. And I don't mean that negatively at all because the manufacturer person did not put that in you. So I'm happy to give you, this is an aftermarket option. You can have this aftermarket option because it works really well.
Well, that's because, right, Christine, we're fixers. We want to fix. I mean, that's our disposition, right? That's our DNA. We want to fix things, solve things, and frankly, so we can move on and go fishing or something, right? So it is very counterintuitive, in that regard, right? I mean, we have to really think differently as you're telling us we need to do. This is great advice. So thank you for that because that can be applied anywhere, like you said, even with daughters, right? And I've got a few of those. So that's good stuff right there. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I really honor you want to ultimately fix. So what I'm telling you is ultimately you fix what feels very broken inside of us when you just listen, which is a doing thing. I really try really hard to keep your language in my head. It's a doing thing for us when you listen. That is an action to us. When you give us your undivided attention, because it is amazing, your undivided attention. It's why we get mad that you're watching TV and reading the newspaper and on your phone, because we want you to stare at us, because we like your undivided attention. And we need to learn that you are your best person if you go watch TV and see your sports team win and cruise on your phone and read the newspaper and come back and tell us about them. We need to get over ourselves that we need other things in our life so that you don't have to stare at us the whole time. But we really like it when you give your undivided attention to us. So when you do that, when we're really upset, it's like an extra bonus to us. So it really does all the wonderful things that your intention about saying the fix, it's going to do all those things, just no words right away. But eventually, I give you total permission to give amazing advice when we're done, but not in the middle. And you never even have to understand. I've had men that I've taught this quite a while ago, and they still go, I don't know why it works, but it works. So I'm going to keep doing it because it works. Because you guys like stuff that works. I know you like knowing why, but even if you don't know why, do it. I promise it works. I am one of them. Works on me. So thank you for the kudos about that because it is one of my very favorite things to teach men because it is such a superpower. The superpower I teach women is 3 words of I appreciate you. Men are so underappreciated in the world. You just do stuff. You do stuff without expecting to be thanked. You do stuff that is big and hard and dirty and messy, and I don't want to do any of it. And so I am a huge appreciator of men. Everywhere I go, I thank men for doing stuff. And so teaching the women in your life to notice and compliment everything you do even if you just do it because you would do it, boy, it sure fills you up in ways that nothing else does, especially if you care about us. So how to find a woman like that is the one of the things I teach men. How do you vet them? How do you know that a woman is capable of already doing it or learning to do that? Because there's some pretty ungrateful women out there, and I don't want you dating any of them. I only want you dating grateful ones, because there's certainly plenty of them.
And Christine, on that note, and I think in Henry's comment about dating a divorcee, is there any watch outs? I mean, that's probably a whole hour topic. Dating a widow is probably right, an opportunity, but dating a divorcee is also out there, right? If they're single, later in life. Are there special watch outs? You've been both. So what's different about dating one or the other?
Very different. Oh my goodness. Such a good question. Thank you for asking it. So the challenge with divorced people in general is one or both of them got pretty mad at the other person eventually because they must have started out liking each other enough to get married and make babies. And now one or both of them are pretty mad. And have they gotten past that? So one of the questions I ask everybody I go out with, and I tell everybody to ask this question is, what did you learn about yourself from the people that you've been in a relationship with? And then listen and listen and listen. You will be amazed what they will tell you. Because you don't really care about the other person, but you'll hear, is it all the other person being a jerk? Did they think they did nothing wrong? Did they think they did something wrong and now they've learned how to be different? It was the question I asked my late husband when I found out he'd been married and divorced twice. So when I asked him, he explained to me all the things he screwed up in his first marriage, all the things he thought he'd learned, all the things he screwed up in his second marriage, and all the things he'd learned. And I got to tell you, I was a very lucky third wife. He was a lovely husband. He had really learned. And I was so impressed that he took 100% responsibility. Now, it's never one person. And certainly when the 5 years I was married to him and the 7 years I knew him, the wives were around. They had kids. So we had them for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I was fine with having them around. But I certainly saw their part. But I want to hear what they thought, what the other person said about them, what they learned in the process. Because I could tell you all the things I did wrong in my first marriage and still the things I would now do even better. I've been after my second marriage. So I want to hear somebody has grown and that it's not all the other person being a jerk. Because even somebody who was married to somebody that's diagnosed in the DSM of schizophrenic and sociopath or narcissist, why were you attracted to them? Why did you stay with them? Why did you make babies with them? That's what I'm not going to ever ask them that question. I ask clients that, but I want to hear how they figured it out. Their childhood created that they were raised by narcissists, so they felt comfortable, or they'd never been with one and they didn't understand. And boy, I've sure grown and I've learned this, and I'm not bitter. That's the thing to watch out with the women. Often, what the women will do is they think, well, I just don't like men, or men are all like this and I have to be on guard all the time. You don't want any of those. But I've certainly coached two couples. I know there's more, but I personally coached two couples where one of each of them was divorced and one of each of them was widowed. And the divorced people had done a lot of personal work. And the widowed people had done work. This part that I started out talking about, how can you get comfortable about moving forward? Are you going to be comfortable falling in love again? Are you going to be comfortable making love with somebody? Are you going to be comfortable introducing them to your children? Have you talked to your children about that? I'm going to think about going out and just dating, not even talk about married, but that I'm going to go out and seek other people company. And minor children get an opinion and a vote. And if they vote no, you need to wait. But adult children get an opinion and not a vote. You are the only person that gets to vote on your life when they're adults. And they think they have an opinion. And I suggest that you listen to their opinion and say, wow, I really honor your opinion. And this is what I'm going to do, whether it's the same thing or different things. But they often do better if they at least have felt like they voiced their opinion because they're concerned. Does this mean you're not going to love mom anymore? Does this mean, and you got to talk about this. Everybody goes, I don't want to talk about it. The inheritance. How's it going to affect say it out loud. Don't sweep it under the rug. It's much better if you just go, yeah, yeah, because most people in our age, I've had 4 weddings in a row of clients who wanted to get married, 22, 23, 24, 25. We'll see what 26. I have one person he's pretty clear he's going to get married this year. The financial arrangements are really important that they had lawyers draw up their stuff and they showed their kids because it can cause a rift for no good reason if you've really thought this is how I'm going to do it. And whether you're going to live in each other's house or go back and forth or buy a different house, and how if one person dies before the other. I mean, it's so important to have it completely spelled out. And if you decide not to get married, which most of my clients have for financial reasons, you need to have a medical directive if that person's going to be your person. Because these weren't my clients, but they were friends of clients. They'd been together for 18 years. They went on a trip somewhere overseas. He fell. He was in a coma. She couldn't even go in his room. She knew all his medical history. She couldn't say anything. They had to keep calling his kids. One of them stayed put. The other one flew. And after he recovered, he was fine. They said, oh my God, we need a medical directive that says you can come be my person. But I don't care how long you've been together. HEPA is just, I mean, I guess it's a really good thing, but it can sure get in your face. So people need to talk about as you're moving forward and you're saying, yeah, I think we want to think about being together, making a life together. These things, can you talk about them? Because if you can't talk about them, you really aren't each other's people. And that you're not each other's people is never a bad thing to find out ahead of time. It's kind of yucky to find out later when your sex is great and the kids have all met him and you're like, there's this thing. So I get people prepared about, here's the pace. Start asking these kind of questions in the beginning. I'm so curious to hear how you handle your life that way. That's how I found about all those men spending all their money. This is how I'm thinking about handling my future life. And then you just keep talking over time at appropriate times. And eventually you're going to talk about, this is like what I like in sex. What do you like in sex before you get in bed together? And I'll tell you, it's so fun to talk to people in this age group because getting you to all talk about, well, my knee works this way and my elbow works this way. And if you talk about it with each other, there's so much laughing, more than you could ever imagine. They said they feel like they're playing Twister, that it's so much more fun because everybody's, oh my God, am I going to be able to get it up and keep it up? I like talking about sex. The woman, am I going to be turned on by him? And could I really say stuff? And what if he doesn't like how I smell and taste? And I tell people you need to have these conversations and you get to practice with me, which is probably a little uncomfortable, but not as scary as somebody you really care about. So isn't it better to get it over with me, to come up with the right words before you go, oh my God, I really care about her and I really don't want to blow this. So I help you pace it. That's part of this. This is why I love when you're just going to get ready and I can get you paced. So one of the things I'd love to send you to is my website, because there's all sorts of free things. So at the top of my website is a book you can download. I did 10 years of a dating advice column, and my lovely sister-in-law, who's the editor, said, you should make it a book. And I said, you'd make it a book. So she did. So click on that. I'll send it to you. You can also join my mailing list. The podcast I mentioned that I do every week live with a guy coach, you'll just get in your mailbox if you sign up for my mailing list. I also teach a class for men. I also have a free call. So you can sign up, couple little questions. You have access to my calendar. I'm happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. There's no obligation. I promise I will give you information that's helpful at the end. And then if you think, gosh, I'd really like to talk more with you, then we could talk about that. And then you can also send me an email. It's Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And at the bottom of my website is all my social media, which the far right one is the YouTube channel that has almost 280 of the podcasts that Barry and I've done. So you can scroll through and look at the subjects. If you'd rather listen, we're on all the Spotify and Apple. It's called Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. So you can take us on a walk with your dog, or I have a client that he's a game designer and he gets tired of looking at screens, so he puts me in his ears when he's flying. He says, I just binge on your voice while I'm flying. So that's my only commercial, but I'm not really selling anything at this point. I want you to take advantage of how much free stuff I have. And thanks for turning on your window, Bob. Did you have a comment or a question? Or are you just showing me your smiley face? Well, that's really nice. Thanks. I appreciate it very much.
I agree. I
I
agree.
love,
Well,
if you have more questions, I would love them. Because I could just talk for hours about this. Because really, almost 280 podcasts and we haven't run out of a subject yet. And I just sent 14 more off today for the producer to put up for the next however long that is, 3 months. I'm not the math person. So if you have something specific that you want more information that I talked about, or you go, oh, but this has come up in somebody I've been dating or somebody I'm interested in, or where do I even go start? I'm happy to answer any of those. As long as Chris lets me talk, I will talk.
absolutely. We love to listen too. It's funny. I mean, I learn something every time I tune in, and I know the guys are taking things away from this. Had some nice thank yous from some of the guys. And Christine will be back next month, towards the end of the month. I did want to let you all know on June 9th at 6 p.m., same time, every time we do get together, we have Grant Meyer coming in. And Grant is a financial advisor, but he's also a marathoner, and he's going to come in and talk about wellness, health and wellness in June, which is the Health and Wellness Month for men. So he's going to be here on June 9th. Mark your calendars. We'll send out there's some posts out there as well. And Christine's posts, we post her podcast out there with Barry, but we also post, in fact, when she's going to be appearing here. So if you're on Facebook, which is part of the membership, then hopefully you're still involved in the Facebook group, and watch for those posts as they come. They're nice reminders to make sure that you register for our events each month. So in June, this is the last event of this month, but in June we'll have a couple events. So again, mark your calendars, and we hope we'll see you then. I want to thank Christine again. So lovely for you to join us. So much great information, and I know the guys really appreciate everything they heard tonight. So thank you.
So there were two questions that I would love to talk to each of you individually and give you longer answers, but the two short answers to, how do you know if you're ready? Go to some social things that you would already go to that would be fun for you. If you want to take dance lessons, or you want to take a cooking class, or you want to join some athletic thing, and start talking to women. Just talking. It's a lot of pressure to sit across the table from a new woman after such a long time of sitting across the table from the same woman, so that you get a chance to, as you used to meet before when we were surrounded by our target market, that you're now going to have women to talk to about what they're doing there. And so if you call me, we set up a time, I can give you some really good questions. I'm curious questions to get women to start feeling more comfortable with you, and you'll have a game plan to start feeling comfortable with them. So that's one of the ways to know, am I ready? Because your body will tell you. Because the scariest, saddest thing that happens often in widowed people is they jump into the dating pool, they go out with somebody, the other person starts getting attached because you're lovely, and you discover you're not ready, and it hurts you to hurt them. So I can help you not do it that way, because that's really not the best way to find out that you're not ready. You need to find out that you're not ready, but this is a much gentler way. Somebody else asked that if you're already dating somebody, but it's still new, my suggestion is to date more than one person at once. And I get lots of pushback about it. How would I keep track? It feels disloyal. But often, especially widowed people, I have learned we get attached really fast before we know enough. Where if you have two, you can keep comparing and contrasting, and you will know the front runner 3 or 4 times. Just do 3 or 4 times. You will know the person that you want to start spending more time with. But jumping right in with both feet, you aren't often as inspired to ask some of the really important vetting questions that you need to find out if they really are your person. And you can get 6 months down the road, and that thing that you didn't ask that I would have made sure you asked comes and bites you in the behind, and you're like, oh crap. And what I think about you widowed people is you've had your heart broken in the worst way. Let's not give strangers, because they really are strangers for the first little while, a chance to break your heart again. Do not open your heart. I've had more women than men, but a few men tell me that you wear your heart on your sleeve. The manufacturer installation person did not do that. They put it inside your chest behind that big old rib cage. Seemed like a better idea to me. So I need you to leave it there and date from here up the first little bit until they've deserved having access to your emotions and your heart. And that's how I pace people. That's one of my best gifts that I can give you to help you. If you're going to get hurt, it's because something really surprising came up, something that was so out of the ordinary. But generally, while you're going through the dating process, they won't have enough access to break your heart because that's not appropriate. But you all jump right in because you like being in love and you like having somebody to take care of. And the other thing, I'm going to say sex one more time. Men had a reputation, well founded when you were younger, that you could have casual sex. You could. When you were younger, especially if you were like a teenage person, often you could have casual sex. And even men in our age group that are divorced can sometimes have casual sex. You have taught me widowed men cannot have casual sex, so please don't have sex till you really know this is your person. Just got to say that out loud. It's really, you guys are adorable in that way. If you have sex with somebody, your heart gets attached, no matter that you have that Y chromosome. So please don't do that to yourself. Even though you get widow fire, I know widow fire. Barry and I did a whole podcast on you miss the touch, you miss being held, you miss being patting each other on the butt when you walk through the kitchen. I know I missed it, and it was only 5 years, and you guys had lots more years. But don't do it. Please don't do it. It's not worth it. It's too hard on your heart. Okay? I need scouts pledges for that because it's a hard thing to resist when you've got this sexy person who's flirting with you. And there's women out there that will happily, they don't want a relationship and they're happy to have casual sex, happy to have casual sex. But it's hard on you generally. It's hard on you to keep your heart. I mean, if you can keep your heart intact, have it. But most of the time, the widowed men that I talk to, it's too hard for you. So I just put out that little, I feel like, what is the thing where you have the social warning or whatever it is?
Public announcement. Yeah.
That's it. This is my public announcement.
PSA.
Don't have sex.
Public service.
That's really how I feel talking about having sex too early. I just have watched it backfire over and over and over for widowed men. And I was charmed to learn that you had this happen to you, but I wanted to warn you because I know that this is so prevalent.
Well, on that note, we had an extra bonus 7 minutes, guys, but we were a few minutes late.
Hope it was worth it.
Getting started. Oh, I think it was well worth it. So we love your PSAs. So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, with that, guys, take good care of yourselves. Remember, you don't have to navigate this journey alone. There's a website, there's a Facebook group, and we have our WSN Men Live. We'll have a replay of this as well. We'll have you'll have a chance to comment if you'd like to give us some feedback. We always love that, and get to share that with Christine. So, without, I guess that kind of brings us to the end, and we'll just say it's been great, Christine. Thank you again, and guys, we look forward to seeing you next month. Take care of yourself.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, fellas. It's so fun. I love talking to men.
Good night.
Bye for now.